So the number one comment I get on this YouTube channel over the last 5 years is a comment regarding fixed pivot knife sharpening systems, something like this TS Prof K03. Now, the big misconception is that these knife sharpeners change the angle at which they sharpen because of the fact that the sharpening medium gets further away from the pivot point. I've got a ruler clamped in here right now, and the argument that people make is that this angle is different than this angle. Now, on a perfectly straight blade, that is not the case. Obviously, if a blade has a huge belly in it, you will get minor discrepancies. But for the sake of argument, a perfectly straight blade put in the clamp, this sharpening angle at this end is the exact same sharpening angle as it is at this end. Many people get confused because they look at this plane here, right? This is an angle, this is a different angle, that's a different angle. But you never measure the angle of a bevel on an angle. Let me give you a little analogy. So take the roof of a house. I've made a little roof of a house out of some cardboard. And when we're measuring the angle that this roof is at, we measure it perpendicular to this bottom, the eave or the gutter. Now, I put a little thumbtack in here. We'll pretend this is a 2x4 on the roof. And we've got essentially a pivot point. We've created this thing right here. Now, if I measure the angle of the roof right here, it'll be whatever. Pretend it's 30 degrees. Now, as we bring this 2x4 over to this side of the roof, this angle has definitely changed. But again, you don't measure the angle of a knife at weird angles. You always measure 90 degrees to the cutting edge. If I measure the roof over here, like this, it's going to be 30 degrees. If I swing this way, it's going to be 30 degrees. If I bring this way and measure 90 degrees to the eave of the roof, it is 30 degrees. It will never, ever change. Just like with a knife. This, and this are all the exact same angle when you measure it 90 degrees to the blade of the knife. So if I'm over here, we're going to take our measurement, obviously 90 degrees to the blade. If we're sharpening over here, we're putting this in, it looks like that's a different angle. But if we were to measure perpendicular 90 degrees to the edge, it is the exact same angle. I get this comment all the time, and I've responded so many times, and people argue and argue and argue the point. So I really hope that this roof analogy helps out. This angle, looking at this plane, is absolutely changing, but we don't measure a knife. If I'm going to measure the edge of a knife, I won't sit there and put my angle finder at this way. I will always go 90 degrees, in which case this is perfect. I'm going to link to another video where I go in depth with this sharpener. I put strings up and all these things. I'm going to save this video, and when I get the comment, people saying, oh, think about math, it's basic stuff, I'm just going to refer them to this video. This is a public service announcement. Think about which plane you're measuring angle on. If you can get that right, it'll all make sense. Cheers.